Hey everyone, it's Wednesday, and that means that I'm on the website, katimorton.com, under community forums, Q&A for videos, and I'm also on YouTube. Hello! So, today I have 4 questions as well as a journal topic, so without further ado, let's get into them. Now the first question is, what is the difference between PTSD dissociations and DID? DID being dissociative identity disorder, otherwise known as multiple personality disorder. Just FYI. If you dissociate because of your PTSD, do you have DID? Thanks. Now that's a great question. And the truth of it is that in order to, a lot of people with PTSD will dissociate and they do not necessarily have DID, dissociative identity disorder. Dissociative identity disorder is when you create a complete alternate universe that you kind of daydream / live in. And people, that's why they call it multiple personality, because you actually can create like an alter ego to some extent and you can kind of live in that land. So imagine if you're, daydreaming, you're like, I'm going to live in this beautiful house on a hill and I'll have all these dogs or whatever. You can create a happier place. And this is something that we do kind of as a way to cope, which is why it's linked so much to PTSD. The difference being you can have PTSD and dissociate sometimes, but if it's taking up a significant portion of your time, then it would be DID. And you can have PTSD and DID, but they don't always happen that way. Okay? Does that make sense? So sometimes you'll have dissociation with PTSD, but only if it's taking up a significant portion of time is it actually DID. Okay? Question number 2. Is it normal to just start crying? I've gotten this question, I think it's from the same person. They've been following me around all week. No, it's not. Most of the time, if you're crying for what we would, when my clients will say, Katie, I'm just crying for no reason. There's no real reason. I'm just crying. It's usually because we're really overwhelmed. And our anxiety is really high, or our depression's really bad, and the smallest things or nothing really can just set us off, right? And then we instantly start crying. Because another thing to think about is what we hypothesize as being the reason for our depression and anxiety and stuff like that is kind of the neurotransmitters in our brain aren't keeping our dopamine and serotonin at the right levels. That's what they hypothesize, right? So those are very clearly linked to hormones and affects our mood. And so if we're depressed or if we're anxious, our kind of mood and our hormones and all that stuff is going all out of whack. So we might just cry for no reason. You might want to yell at someone and then cry, or, we just kind of feel like our emotions aren't under our own control. So if you're feeling like you're crying all the time in places you don't want to cry, at times when you don't want to cry, I would encourage you to seek some professional help and see a therapist, because talking it out can honestly really help. Okay, question number 3. As a therapist, do you ever forget about your clients or what their names are? I was seeing a therapist in the spring. I would like to see her again, but I'm afraid if I call and say, hi, this is blank, she'll have forgotten who I am. That's a great question. I hadn't even thought about this, and people gave this a lot of thumbs up. So, no, I would never. Also, know that if you leave a message, if you call and say, like, let's say I call and say, hi, I'm Kati Morton. She can, if she's like, is it the Katie that did this or the Katie? Because I am much better if they're like, my name is Katie and I'm the one who had they tell me like a little bit about their story. Then I'm like, oh, I remember everything. So if your therapist happens to forget which person you are, if you have a very common first name, she can pull out your file and look up and be like, oh yeah, I remember. So no, we don't forget. And even if we forget some of the little specifics, we have some notes to back up our memory. It's like our hard drive or something. So yeah, we never forget. And I don't even forget you guys. Like a lot of you will be following me and tweeting to me, and then you'll go away for a while and you're like, I just got out of inpatient. I'm like, I remember you. Especially if your little picture or whatever I don't even know what the word I'm looking for, whatever you've selected is the same and it stays the same to represent you on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, then I always remember, because I'm like, oh yeah, because I look at that while I'm typing my answer. Okay, question number 4. Hey Katie, my question is, how can you get out of the binge cycle? I don't know if you already have a video on this, but I have had an eating disorder and I had almost recovered, but then I relapsed. I don't eat all day and then it comes towards nighttime and I end up eating everything in sight. Any advice? Thanks for reading. I don't have a video on this, and it's actually a really good question, which is why I decided to answer it. To be honest, you kind of answered your own question. You didn't realize it, but you don't eat anything all day. And that's what keeps us in the cycle, is don't eat, binge, guilt, whatever we do to make up for the binging, if it's purging or if it's just the guilt followed by not eating again to make up for the binge or whatever. We have to eat. And if you're really struggling and this is how you're relapsing, this is like what gets you, I would encourage you, please, please, please work with a dietitian. Create a meal plan so you're eating 3 meals and 3 snacks throughout your day so you don't have that like extreme hunger, extreme fullness, extreme hunger, extreme fullness, that we just keep ourselves in this healthy, happy medium. So yeah, I would just set up an appointment, work with a dietitian, also work with a therapist, because it really helps to have someone to help you be there with you while you're really struggling with, the anxiety that comes along with trying this and eating more, and maybe when we don't want to, or eating disorder tells us we shouldn't. So yeah, I know it's a lot of work and I know it's really hard, but it's good to eat during the day and it's good to have a consistent schedule that we eat. I even have a pretty consistent schedule when I eat, and I'm not even on a meal plan. I know when I'm going to be hungry, and I always eat breakfast around the same time because I get up around the same time, eat lunch around the same, and that's good for your body. And it'll be good to get you out of that cycle. Okay? Now, the journal topic of today, because I've been really stressed, I'll admit it. Christmas is coming, and Sean and I are going to Montreal, and there's been a lot going on. I'm like running around like crazy. I was at Maker Studio today filming a video with someone. It was very exciting. So I've just been running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And so the quote of the day is, "My body needs laughter as much as it needs tears. Both are cleansers of stress." So I want you to take some time and think about the last time you really laughed, like full body laugh, like throw your head back, can't even deal with yourself, it's so funny. And when's the last time you had a really good cry, like ugly cry, like you're making that face and your nose is running and you almost can't catch your breath, you're crying so hard. And I want you to write a little bit about those. And are you giving yourself enough time to be happy as well as sad and not doing one significantly more than doing another? And if you find you are, then what can we do to just turn it around? If I'm spending all this time laughing and kind of like pretending I'm okay and I really just need to be alone with myself for a bit, then maybe we can create some alone time. And if I'm crying all the time, I'm not getting out of bed and I'm not seeing my friends, I'm not doing anything I used to love, how can we do that more? Think about it, write about it, and share, okay? I love you all. Tomorrow is Thursday and I'll be on Twitter, so ask your questions there, and I'll see you then. Bye!